So right now, if you had a choice, pay off your mortgage or invest in stocks, what would you do?
What's my mortgage rate?
3%. It's 4%. Let's say it's 4%.
So I pay off my mortgage.
Okay.
And I'm a financial advisor. I get paid for people to invest stocks with me. I pay off my mortgage. Here's why. For you to pay, so I'm going to use really simple math. Let's just say that you're, because one of the challenges is people look at the cost of their home only based on interest rates. Oh, I'm borrowing at 4% or 3%. So let's just say in a completely perfect world, somebody lives in some kind of bubble where they're guaranteed a job for 30 years and they start their mortgage. 3 years later, they paid it off.
Okay.
And they might look and say, okay, well, Jeff, in year one, my mortgage is $2,000 and I'm paying $1,300 in interest, but $800 of what I'm paying year one is going straight to principal.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's actually way, way, way more be going to interest than principal.
Yeah.
But let's just say that's what they're looking at right now. But as I get further in the road, maybe in year 10 or maybe in year 20, Jeff, maybe $1,300 is going to principal and $600 or $800 is going to interest. And by year 25, it's almost all going to principal. So it kind of depends on where you're at. But people can make the argument when you look at a mortgage, they can say, look, yes, it costs me $2,000 a month in cash flow, but really some of that's going into an asset that I own.
Yeah.
And so my cost is really just the interest cost to carry the loan.
Yes.
And that's true. Except if you lose your job, you can't go to the bank and go, well, just don't charge me till I get a job because after all, a lot of this is an asset and that doesn't work. And so what I look at it is what I think of more for the vast majority of people, a better way to look at their mortgage is say, okay, what do I have to make to pay my mortgage? Particularly because with the new tax rules, a lot less people are itemizing, so they're not actually getting the benefit of writing off their mortgage to begin with. So if you're an average American working family, so the median family of four makes like $54,000 a year, right?
Okay.
The reality is sort of kind of the area we live in. It's a more upper middle class area and beyond, right? So it's probably higher than that here. Matter of fact, I know it is. But let's just say, so let's say you got a family with making $100,000 a year.
Okay.
Well, if they're making $100,000 a year gross, after their self-employment tax, after FICA tax, right? So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they're down to about 92.
Okay.
Right? And then they're going to take out some benefits and some other things. And then they're going to take out their tax rate, right? Or their effective tax rate's going to be taken out by the pay. So they might bring home 70 of the 100.
Yes.
Right? So their effective between benefits, income taxes, and Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, their effective rate's 30%, right? And people kind of forget about that because you can't really get rid of employment tax. It is what it is until you max out. But so what that really means is, okay, you're bringing home $2 roughly for every $3 you make, you get to keep $2.
Yeah.
So if you have a $2,000 mortgage, you have to make $3,000 a month to net $2,000.
Yeah.
To pay your mortgage, right?
Yes, exactly.
So if you want to replace your mortgage, you need to make, if we're talking about an investment that threw off income every single year, you need to make about $3,000 a month. Now, investments don't have Social Security wages and so on and so forth, so I'm getting a little complicated here. But let's just say it's all equal tax-wise.
Yeah.
Okay, well, your mortgage is guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know what your rate is, and they're going to charge it to you on the first.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what happens to the market. I mean, assuming that Armageddon doesn't happen, that's coming, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So would you say that to compare the value of paying off your house and having a guaranteed benefit of $3,000 a month? In other words, you don't have to make $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
If your mortgage is paid off in this hypothetical scenario.
Yeah. Okay.
So a dad might come home or a mom might come home or a couple might come home and say, you know what? We're tired of our jobs. We paid off our house, but our dreams are to be, you're going to start a painting studio and I'm going to be a teacher. We're both quitting our corporate jobs in America, but we only need to make $70,000 total because we paid off our house.
Yeah.
And that makes up that extra $30,000. So there's a significant value there, right? If you really want to compare apples to apples, and this is where people make in my opinion, a pseudo-analytical decision, and many financial advisors guilty of this. They'll say, well, Taylor, You can refinance your house at 3.1%, and you can invest and the market average has been 9% for the last 50 years or 100 years, and and that's a 6% spread. Well, wait a minute. You can invest at 3.1%, but you can potentially write off that interest. So actually, maybe your cost is a little bit lower, and they're going to add that in as their argument.
Yeah.
But just because the market averages a return, that return's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
You might, because if you made that same argument to somebody in 2006, by 2008 they're down 50, or by 2009 they're down 50% in their investment, right? They could have paid their house off.
Yeah.
And instead they have half as much money. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
In that scenario. So here is the analysis. What do you really have to make it worthwhile? Well, I will tell people the first thing you do is compare it to a guaranteed investment. Because if I pay off my mortgage, or rather if a client pays off their mortgage, I can look them in the eye and guarantee them they will have X amount more in the bank every month because they didn't have to pay the mortgage.
Yes.
So the equivalent is, how much do we have to invest in a guaranteed instrument to give you that exact same amount of money in the bank to pay the mortgage?
Yeah.
Well, if your mortgage is $2,000 a month and you got to pay taxes on your investments, right?
Yep.
And you're going to pay ordinary income taxes on short-term investments that give you cash flow.
Okay.
You might pay long-term on dividends. Best case scenario, if you're paying 20% in taxes, you need to make $2,500 a month to net $2,000.
Yes.
$2,500 a month is $30,000 a year. $30,000 a year in a guaranteed investment account, you can get 3%, and you can probably get about 3.5% guaranteed by portfolio municipal bonds right now. Now, granted, you get some tax benefits there.
Okay.
But let's say it was a portfolio of regular bonds. So you probably get a 4% bond portfolio.
Okay.
So you need roughly $750,000 invested to earn enough money to give you your money to pay your mortgage and keep that money just stay in the same level.
Yeah, and this is something I
So if I can pay off my house at $300,000 versus putting $750,000 to work to tread water.
Yeah.
Or here's the other question. Well, Jeff, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna invest my money with Taylor. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna invest my money with Jeff Reddick. And I'm gonna make 9%. Let's just say I do. Okay, well, you're gonna pay me a fee.
Okay.
So there's some haircut there. Let's call it 1. So now your 9% is 8%. And of course, we probably had to be somewhat creative to make that money. We probably take more risk, but let's just assume we were right. We bought and sold things.
Yeah.
So now you're going to pay ordinary income tax on that, or short-term capital gains tax on that.
Okay.
So your 8% is more like 5%.
Yeah.
Or you could have paid your mortgage off that cost you 4. You jump through all those hoops to make 5.
Yep.
That doesn't really make sense to me.
No, and I tell people this all the time. Everything that you buy in actual work effort costs you really 30% more. Because how much time, like you go, okay, this truck that I'm going to buy is going to cost me $50,000. Yeah. Oh man, I could buy it. Well, then immediately you have to add 8.5% on that because there's a sales tax to it here in Texas. And then you're not paying for it right there. You're going to finance it. So you got to add in your taxes too that you have to earn in order to pay that thing. Everything costs you so much more. And people always tell me, I make so much more than I used to, but I feel so poor. I don't feel like I'm getting ahead. Well, it's because taxes are your biggest drag in your life.
Well, and lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
Because financing lets you live a better lifestyle, materialistically speaking. Materialistic, is that a word? Materially speaking.
Yeah.
Than we all would be able to live, most of us, if we just paid in cash. And so you get stuck in this cycle.
Vicious cycle. Well, Jeff, we're going to end right here because we got to get on with our lives. But it's been great, though. So this is Jeff Reddick. And if you ever have a financial question, please don't call him on his cell phone because he's going to complain about it. But
I will.
You can call him at his work, and he might call you back if you have a lot of money.
I might.
All right. See. We'll end it there.